Welcome to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Raj, and I'm joined by my co-hosts and Ray Guns backup dancers, Fab and Mac. Week 10
Wow.
is already in the books. It's making me kind of sad. It was capped off with a kind of forgettable Dolphins Rams Monday Nighter, which we will sadly recap shortly. Afterwards, it's time to move on to week 11 with our popular love hate segment where we outline the players and matchups we love and the ones we hate. If you missed our week 10 trade target waiver wire show, please be sure to check it out. It was really fun, really fun episode where we outlined key players to buy or sell and some trade scenarios as the deadline fastly approaches. And before we forget, just a quick reminder, if you like our content, have benefited from our love hate waiver wire trade segments, we have one small favor: rate, follow, and subscribe. Please, it'll help us out greatly. You could find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Stay locked in to those channels as usual. We'll have a ton of content and advice to take you through to week 11 and the fantasy playoffs that are fast approaching. Before we get into the key takeaways from the Monday Nighters, ever wonder where the player projections come from? Well, you don't have to anymore. Introducing League Champ, the easy to use tool that enables users to turn their player takes into rankings and projections. With in-depth analytics, injury analysis, and weekly floor and ceiling ranks, you'll never miss a beat this fantasy season. Download League Champ today from the App Store or Google Play. Also, check out their podcast available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All right, guys, let's break down the takeaways from Monday Night Football. Mr. Knack, you go first.
Mr. Knack. Yeah, I took away that Matt Stafford is way too inconsistent for fantasy football this year. He had a couple back-to-back solid outings when he got back his receivers, where he scored, I think it was 29 points and then 21 points. Very, very solid after obviously a very rocky start to the year. And then most people thought, Stafford was back from fantasy dead, right? After everyone was all excited, yes, we got our QB back, a uh, nice little playoff push to down the stretch. He was looking kind of like a savior, but then put up a huge dud on Monday night at home versus the lowly Dolphins, like 293 scoreless yards, an INT for just under 11 points, and on third down he went 4 for 8, 45 yards, one INT for a 26 passer rating, which was really, really awful to watch last night. That was definitely not one of his better games. I mean, shout out definitely to the Dolphins D, but very uninspiring performance from the Rams at home in prime time. And uh, Stafford has a very tough schedule down the stretch. Like, are you trusting him heading into the end of the year up in the playoffs?
He was pressured on, I think, 23% of his dropbacks where there was pressures that led to a sack. So he was sacked 4 times. They have to shore up that offensive line. If they don't shore up that offensive line, as good as the receiving threats are, and even Kyron Williams, I don't know if they can make it that far.
But the line was the healthiest it's been all year. I think they were missing one guy from
Noteboom
their
was
offensive
back,
line.
and the other guy, I forget. I think Noteboom was back.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
you're
only
right.
missing they were only missing one guy last night. Like their team was literally the healthiest it's been all season long.
Yeah, I feel like you have to give credit to Miami. Like,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I give
yeah.
credit to
yeah,
the D.
yeah,
The
yeah.
defense
I know you
played
did. Yeah,
the
yeah,
defense played
yeah.
incredible for sure. Definitely give credit where credit is due. It's just that I expected more from Stafford in prime time at home. Like that division is still wide open, right? Like not to say that they're out by any stretch, but um, that division was wide open and they had a chance to kind of, try to keep up with San Fran and the Cardinals,
Yeah.
and I think they blew an opportunity there.
Philly, Buffalo, near Jets, kind of overrated defense, but they get San Fran as well. You're right, very tough sledding for Matt Stafford going forward. Otherwise, though, Fab, I think from a wide receiver standpoint, I think you had some takes on the long-haired Oos from the
Yeah,
Rams.
Puka to the moon, man. I forgot how nice it is to watch Puka play. He went 9 for 98 on 14 targets. He showed burst, speed, even got a tackle too. So if your league counts that, you're very happy. No TDs, but also no punches thrown either, so that's a positive. Very small sample very small sample size, but in the 2.5 games he's played, he has 250 yards on 21 receptions and 31 targets. So if you have Puka and your team has survived this long, congrats on staying the course because you have an every week wide receiver one at the time it counts the most. The schedule for the rest of the season isn't great, like just as Nac just alluded to, but he did put up just under 19 fantasy points versus the 26th rated Miami D. Face off against Jalen Ramsey most of the night in the slot and out wide. So I think he'll be fine, and I think he'll continue to turn up these types of productions for the rest of the season too.
He really is fun to watch. With
He
like
is,
the
though.
hair flowing and
he's physical. Special, man.
But he plays recklessly. It's just me.
Yeah,
Does he play very recklessly?
Yeah, he plays without fear.
You have to wonder like how sustainable that is for the rest of his career.
When he went to go tackle with his head last night. Reckless.
Yeah, I am a Puka owner in Bush League, and I'm very, very happy considering what's happening with CeeDee Lamb. My takeaway, and I think we're going to have some tough conversations about Tyreek Hill, but are we sure Tyreek Hill is going to be a surefire WR1 next year, or WR1 in the first round in redraft? I haven't really done a deep dive yet to see if he's lost a step to injuries, but with the Tua injury history and the fact that he's either turned 30 or is going to be turning 30 very soon, definitely think it's cause for concern. He had 4 targets, 3 receptions, 16 yards, and a touchdown yesterday. And basically, since Tua's been back, he's only averaging, I believe he's only averaging like, call it like 10, 12 fantasy points per game. So my question to you guys is, he was the WR1 or WR2 consensus this year. But for me, guys that I would take over him next year, under no order, but depending on age, talent, and market value, would be Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins. And I think on the borderline, you have AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe Puka Nacua. And then from a running back perspective, I'm definitely taking Bijan, CMC, and Saquon 100%. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, for sure Puka over Tyreek. I have Puka like super, super high, especially like I don't know what's going to happen with that quarterback situation with the Rams, but and even Marvin Harrison Jr. another year, sophomore year. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm with you. I think there is definitely cause for concern. Definitely not going to be a wide receiver I'm targeting in the first round. That's for sure. And even in 2 QB leagues, he could probably go as low as the 3rd round next year. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Go ahead, Fab.
No, I was just gonna say I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, the only ones that I would pause on is Marvin Harrison Jr. But then again, like you figure Marvin would have more of an upside next year than maybe Tua does, and than Tyreek does, and I can't believe we're having this conversation. But all of those guys you mentioned, for sure, I would take them before Tyreek. You look at his body of work this year, and it hasn't been inspiring at all. Even with Tua back, you do wonder indeed if he's lost his step.
Yeah, I haven't deep dived into it enough, but it's starting to feel a little bit like Stephon Diggs' 2023 season. And again, since Tua's been back, exactly. It's
9
12
targets in 2 games with Tua back. Like, that's weird.
So JJ Zach Reason had a really interesting tweet. The Dolphins are one of 3 teams with a wide receiver target share below 50% this season. The other 2 are the Chiefs and the Saints. And again, they have Tyreek Hill.
Which makes sense. And they've all had injuries. They've had injuries.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, it's strange, man. I don't know what it is. I think, honestly, to tell you the truth, some of it has to do with coaching. I have not been excited or wowed by what McDaniels has done. Not McDaniels.
McDaniels.
What's that? It is McDaniels.
McDaniels.
Yeah, okay. No, I haven't been. Yeah, I really haven't been like wowed by what he's done or how he's handled the situation, even like offensively and stuff. And I think, okay, Tua got injured, but I mean, it does start from the top where they didn't get QB help for a QB prone, an injury prone QB. But he's definitely one of the coaches on the hot seat, and I would not be shocked if he was let go at the end of the year.
Yeah. Something for sure to monitor for next year's redraft leagues. So that's it for Monday Night Football recap. Again, somewhat of a uneventful game. Moving on, there was some interesting news today. Obviously, we've been talking about the Bears and Caleb Williams. There's been a lot talked about in terms of how that situation has developed. The Bears have fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. They named Thomas Brown as the interim offensive coordinator. He was the passing game coordinator. I believe he was the OC for the Carolina Panthers last year as well. And I think in his past, he's a running backs coach. So I would expect for them to kind of try to lean into the run a bit more, which I think would be a good strategy for them. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just not. It's not like the sexy pick for another OC. Like again, he was in Carolina last year too.
Yeah,
So
but that's an
doesn't
that's
really
an interim
aspire.
role.
Yeah, for sure. Just I don't know. It's, we'll see. Look, it can't get any worse, right? They're the 30th ranked offense right now in the league. So I mean, I guess it can go too lower, but yeah, I don't know. A change was needed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I just hope this might showcase Dunze more than anything else. That's what I'm hoping for as far as an offensive is concerned. But I don't have any. This doesn't change anything for me. Like I'm still low on the offense, and until the head coach gets fired and replaced, and he brings in someone exciting, like from one of those Ben Johnson types of ideas, then I don't see this offense turning into anything noteworthy, unfortunately. And it sucks because we've said it all year. They have all the talent, but they're just not playing to Caleb's strengths right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. More news. Isaiah Pacheco's practice window may be open this week. We talked a little bit about him when we were talking about a trade scenario with Kareem Hunt. So that could be interesting to see Pacheco back maybe later towards the tail end of the season. That would be good for a lot of those fantasy owners as well. And then Daniel Jones potentially being benched coming out of the bye. I think Adam Schefter had a report saying that he firmly believes that there's a good chance that Daniel Jones has played his last snap with the Giants. I listened a little bit to Brian Daboll's press conference too, and they asked him basically point blank, what are they going to do with the quarterback position after the bye? And I mean, it sounded like someone who's ready to move on from his current starting quarterback. So that is well overdue.
He's trying to save his job as well, right?
Totally.
I think it's. I think that might be one way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we'll move on to the love-hate for week 11. Just a quick reminder, week 11 buys. We have the Arizona Cardinals, the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Buckaroos.
So collectively, sorry?
It sounded like you were going to go Buckaroos.
Man, with the injuries they have right now, I'd rather call them the Buckaroos. The week 10 love-hate record. So collectively, we were 7-5. Not bad. So Fab, you were 3-1. You hit on Tyrone Tracy as a love, and you hit on hates for Jake Ferguson and Drake May. You lost on a love for Mike Gesicki. He only got 7 points, which honestly I could have seen that one coming, knowing Mike Gesicki.
Why? I mean, I disagree with that, but fine. He did have 9 targets on that game.
Mike Gesicki, man.
Well, clearly you disagree since you had him in your love.
Of course, yeah. You look at the last 3 games or 2 games, he was killing it, and then you put him up against was it against Baltimore that they played? Like, I mean,
you know what he reminds me of? Hunter Henry. There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
perfect
I was
example.
Just gonna say it.
Perfect
example.
That's
a good call.
Hunter Henry. That guy is a waste.
Joe Burrow had a fantastic game. Just none of it went to Gesicki. What are you gonna do?
I believe T. Higgins is scheduled back. So
yes. So Gesicki is definitely a drop candidate. I don't think you have to hold on to him anymore. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, they go on bye next week as well. So
there you go. Nac, you were 2-2. You hit on TJ Hawkinson as a love, and major kudos to hitting on Jaden Daniels for your hate. For your loves, you lost on Roma Dunze, and you lost on Chase Brown as a hate because of his 9-catch game.
He had 11 targets. Yeah. Like, that's outrageous. Simply outrageous. I think the most he had all year was 5, and he had 11.
I'll take that as a love for predicting that he was going to get the PPR points if you want that.
Yeah, I mean, you did say,
You
but
called it.
how could you have ever predicted 11 targets and 9 catches? Like
No, I
9?
couldn't have. No,
The
I was
most he
thinking like
had all
5.
year, I think, was 3 or 4. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just like 9 catches. Like, come
yeah,
on, dude.
yeah,
9 points. Like, you take away those 9 catches, and it didn't look as good.
yeah.
Anyways, whatever. It is what it is.
I was also 2-2. I hit on my love as Jawan Jennings, who had a really solid game, and I hit on my hate for Caleb Williams, and then I lost out as a love Jameson Williams, and as a hate Calvin Ridley, who had a really nice game against the Chargers, looking good for his outlook for the rest of the season. Collectively, we are 61. Fab, are these updated?
Yeah, these are live.
Great, thank you. Collectively, we're 61, 42, and 5 so far this year. I think that's a pretty good record for some newbies on the fantasy trail, on the fantasy content trail. So give us our flowers, please.
Yes.
So let's start with. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that Jaden Daniels, the heat really went away after they saw his performance. I was kind of worried because, man, if that would have popped off, I think we would have got destroyed, like completely destroyed.
They burned us on the stake, man. They told us just to stop doing what we're doing.
That would have been a bad one.
They would take away our Zencaster accounts. Nac, who's your first love for week 11?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say Dawson Knox / Dalton Kincaid, just because we don't know if Kincaid is going to play or not. So if Kincaid does play, I'll take the love on Kincaid, and if he doesn't, I'll take Knox. The wide receivers have not been the biggest bright spot on the offense for the Bills. They've been spreading the ball around, so there's no clear number one there at the moment. And with Keon Coleman already ruled out for Sunday and Amari Cooper's status up in the air, that leaves them once again thin at wide receiver on Sunday. They get a KC team giving up the second most points to the tight end position, and tight ends have put up double-digit fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games while facing the Chiefs. So I'm looking for Knox or Kincaid to step up in what could become a shootout on Sunday.
It's a good call. I didn't know the Chiefs were that bad at defending the tight end.
Yep, they've given up some decent games down the last few games.
And who's your second hate? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say last week it wasn't crazy, but still gave up a touchdown to Trotman. So it ended up being a decent game. But or else they've given up like 15. I think it was 15 plus the 3 games before.
And who's your second love for week 11?
Second love is going to be Nick Chubb against the Saints. If not now, when? So Chubb has had a rough go since returning from injury, albeit playing some top run defenses. He has now 3 games to ramp up and has led the team in rushing attempts in all 3. So it's definitely not a lack of trying or attempts. He also just got the bye, so he should be full go and rested for week 11. He gets a Saints D that gives up the 10th most points to running backs, but have been very generous of late, giving up 29 to Bijan, 21 to Hubbard, 16 to Dobbins, 26 to Javonte, and then 53 total to Tucker and Irving. So they've been gashed as of late. He may need to find the end zone, but if there's a week to start him, I think it's week 11 versus the Saints.
They have the 3rd worst run block rating on PFF this year. Usually they're an amazing run blocking team. I think they've had some injuries on the offense line, right? This year.
Yes.
Yeah. So this man, I love Nick Chubb. I think in like this particular injury, like if he could come back and be the same player from this one and do it again, he is an absolute Iron Man. But man, that injury was something. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be just in general going forward if he never kind of reaches that peak. But
sure,
I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, for sure. And look, like I said, this is the game that he finds it, right? 3 ramp up games plus a bye. Like if there's a time where he's going to do it, it's here, or else might have to think of sticking him to the bench in case of injury.
Yeah. Fab, who you got as your first love?
CJ Stroud at Dallas on Monday Night Football. Yes, Stroud has been very underwhelming to say the least in 2024. He's currently QB 25 in the last 4 weeks. His splits from last year to this year in the first 10 games are actually somewhat pretty similar, but very different in the wrong places, specifically in the passing yards and passing touchdowns. At this point in the season last year, he had, I think, about 600 more passing yards and 5 more touchdowns. I mean, listen, he's been dealing with some O-line issues, and his pass catchers have been hurt. But with Nico coming back this week and John Mechie taking over the slot role pretty admirably, I think we'll start to see the CGA of old. His completion percentage is still very good and comparable to 2023. It's actually better this year than it was last year, only by 0.1%. But also having his wide receiver core back healthy again is a huge boost. Doesn't hurt that he faces Dallas game with the 4th most fantasy points to QBs this year and have surrendered multiple passing TDs in 5 of 9 games. Just in the last 4 games, they've given up 9 touchdowns and 11 in the last 5. So I think you can fire up CJ as a QB1 as you drafted him. Also, I think it's important to note that this is a Monday night football game, so you don't have to worry about the sun getting into CJ's eyes. No blinds are needed.
Did you come up with that yourself?
I did. Thank you.
That was amazing.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was really
good.
I saw when they built the stadium, like I noticed that as a bit of a flaw, and it was supposed to be one of those things where, like, you know how Miami, the away team is always on the side of the sun during those 1:00 games, right? It would have been like a benefit, but I don't know.
But they have to flip a coin.
Well, that's it.
The side doesn't matter, so like they can't. But they have curtains, guys. They have curtains. They could have closed the curtains because they have curtains for like concerts and stuff like that. When they had wrestling there,
Okay.
like everything has to go black, and they have to like cut out, and they have them. Like, why didn't you just use them?
Did you see during the press conference they used something to block the sun coming in? That way,
from Mike McCarthy.
So ironic.
Really?
I love it. I love it.
Oh my God.
So dripping with irony. I love it.
The Stroud call is a good one, Fab. I think you had mentioned in our show notes, but 34 sacks this year. He had 38 all of last year. 30% pressure rate for Stroud this year compared to 22% last year. So I see this as Nico Collins being back and kind of Stroud starting to right the ship again.
Yeah, well, if you look at his splits from last year, his passer rating is more or less the same, 100 versus 90. His completion percentage is exactly the same. So it really comes down to, I think, just like weapons, I suppose. Like I want to knock CJ Stroud.
Like,
what's that?
That's a regression a bit. 100 to 90.
Yeah, but that's also a combination of less passing yards and less passing touchdowns, right? But his completion percentage is exactly the same. So
yeah, I agree with you.
I think Nico coming back and Michi, honestly, Michi playing in the slot, like he looked good. We spoke about that yesterday, right? So it's going to help a lot too.
Yes. I believe you have another QB, Fabio.
Yeah, Justin Herbert versus Cincinnati in Sunday Night Football. 3 straight games of 20 or more fantasy points for Mr. Herbert. 6 total TDs, no picks in the last 3 games. Justin Herbert has been balling again. He's dropped back at least 27 times to pass in the last 5 of 6 games, so he's been slinging it a ton. In the last 4 weeks, he's actually QB7 and 4th in the NFL in passing yards. To top it all off, he faces the Bengals this week, Sunday Night Football, who are known for giving up TDs and passing yards. Cincinnati have surrendered 17 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns to QBs. Just last week, Justin Herbert got it done with his legs for the first time in a long time. Opposing QBs don't see all that much pressure either. Bengals are 4th last in the NFL this season with 17 sacks. Justin is a must start in all formats and a top 5 play this week, in my opinion. It's nice to see him doing well, honestly. Like I know there's a lot of speculation on him this season with Harbaugh taking over and how they're going to be running the ball a lot more, but
he had a bumpy start.
He did have a bumpy start. Yeah, takes a while sometimes, I guess.
Yeah,
he is fantastic, man. Like
he's a good quarterback.
He is so good, and like let's be real, like the wide receivers are like nothing to write home about yet. No. I think they will be good. And speaking of a wide receiver who I think will be good and will be better, who's a rookie now for the Chargers, my love is Ladd McConkey against those same Bengals on Sunday Night Football. So McConkey gets the benefit of facing the Bengals, who just got absolutely destroyed via the pass against the Ravens, and they're allowing the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers in the last 4 games. McConkey is averaging 75 receiving yards per game over those last 3 weeks. And he's showing he's more than just an underneath guy with 19 yards per reception. And 68 of his 37 catches are for first down. I think that's an interesting key because the Bengals are allowing the 5th most first downs per game. So I could see McConkey being a key guy to move the chains, excuse me. I expect this to be a shootout, and that type of game script benefits Justin Herbert throwing the football versus the Chargers relying on J.K. Dobbins and the running game.
I agree.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins takes a bit of a hit, because Gus Edwards coming back now. Like, that's a very much of an even split backfield.
So, when J.K. Dobbins was a real league winner early on in the year, with not the Fugazi league winner that he is now, he was splitting basically the backfield carries 50-50. And he had those 2 monster games. I think that's what benefits him the most, considering his injury history. I would rather he be kind of in a split backfield versus getting all the carries.
No, you see a lot of NFL teams nowadays like relying on 2 backfields, and it's really like a ground and pound guy versus somebody that catches out in the flat, right? So it makes sense. You need those options.
Speaking of teams with muddled backfields, my second love, my second love is Bo Nix versus the Falcons. So I think Bo Nix might have had his best game as a pro last week against one of the best real life defenses in the Chiefs. And I expect him to continue that trend against the Atlanta Falcons, who over the past 4 weeks are allowing 21 fantasy points per game to QBs, 6th most in the league. Nix is also averaging 29 rushing yards per game with 4 TDs on the season. And the Falcons have allowed Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts to run for 57 and 83 yards respectively this season. Nix is trending upward and is in a prime spot against the Falcons defense that is 4th worst in QB pressures in the league. It might be time to start saying that Bo Nix might be better than Caleb Williams, at least this year.
He is.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah, it's not a debate.
Yeah.
There's, I think he's one of the poorest rookie QBs this year.
He's the worst right now.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, he's the worst
out of what and he's only better than Penix, who's thrown a couple passes this season, played a few snaps, but no, Caleb's just looked awful. But the whole team is just
it's a product of the coaching staff. It's a product of everything, right? It's really just it's a comedy of errors.
Look the best out of the bunch so far, and you know what, Drake May has looked pretty good too.
Yep,
May's looked fantastic too.
Mm-hmm.
Knack, who do you have as your first hate?
Yeah, so my first hate this week is going to be Lamar Jackson at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So similar to last week, I might catch a lot of hate mail at the beginning of the week when this comes out. But Lamar Jackson is 2-4 versus the Steelers in his career, and the Ravens are 1-7 versus Pittsburgh in their last 8 meetings. So in those 6 games, Lamar has 870 total passing yards, 4 total TDs, 7 INTs, 7 fumbles. He's been sacked 20 times, had a completion percentage of 59, and a average QB rating of 66. So not exactly MVP numbers for an MVP quality quarterback when he plays the Steelers. So for whatever reason, the Steelers have been his kryptonite year in and year out. And this game is for the division lead. So these games are also very low scoring. I think it's like 9 out of the last 10 have hit the under on if you're a bettor. They held Jaden Daniels last week, who was my hate, to 8.58 points in week 10, and they're giving up the 3rd fewest points to QBs. So look for Jackson's struggles versus Steelers to continue in week 11.
I love this. I like this call. I like it. I think Knox gonna be reminding us about Jaden Daniels in that call for what every week.
1,000,000%.
But no, but seriously, like this is such a great call. I mean, and you know this rivalry so well, so looking really forward to this. How is this not a primetime match? You kidding me?
Because I think CBS did not want to give up the rights to this, and the Steelers already had. Steelers had like 4 back-to-back, something like that.
I'm tired of seeing Steelers. Yeah, I'm tired of seeing Steelers on.
Yeah, they've been in prime time for
CBS has CBS has the prime slot at 4:25. That's KC and Buffalo, and I know they can't move Monday night games, and Sunday night it's you just mentioned it. You had
Bengals, Chargers.
Bengals, Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to. They didn't want to move that because of two, like Steelers, and they tend to be low scoring, and that one's probably going to be
Good point.
higher scoring. So
Good point. Fab?
Nak, you want to give a prediction on this game?
Yeah.
Like,
On
how
which
many
one?
points do you think Lamar Jackson is going to score? The only reason why I
You're gonna
asked
ask him
this is because obviously Jaden Daniels put up like less than 10 points last week. But Lamar has been like
Did he?
fairly matchup proof.
I see what you did there. Yeah, no, he has been matchup proof, but the only team that he hasn't been matchup proof against is Pittsburgh, right? So, look, he's Jaden Daniels is also a rookie, where Mike Tomlin was 25-6 versus rookies in his career. Lamar Jackson is not a rookie. I don't see him putting up only 9 points, but I don't see him also putting up 30 against the Steelers. So maybe hovering around that 15, 16 point mark, because I'm sure he's likely to score at least a touchdown.
As someone who is facing Lamar Jackson this week, I am fully on board with this call.
Yeah, man, he's averaging 26 fantasy points per game this year.
Dude, he's
So
nasty this year.
You're
Yeah,
gonna get
he's
you're gonna get a
he's on-
win. You're gonna get a win in love hate if he gets 20 points, basically.
Yes,
He's
basically.
on.
Yeah.
He's on. Well, look, he's got to beat his projections at least, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of teams that are far too often on primetime, Knack, who is your second hate?
Yeah, my second hate for Week 11 is going to be Rico Dowdle versus the Texans on Monday Night Football. So with Cooper Rush now under center and Dak being confirmed out for the year after hamstring surgery, it's going to be really it's going to be really hard to trust, any Cowboys skill positions. So similar to what happened with the Dolphins. He was off to a good start last week, but game script forced him to abandon the run and while they were being blown out. So it could be a similar story here in week 11. He gets a Texans D that's giving up the third fewest points to running backs and limited Montgomery and Gibbs to 24 total points last week. Unless he gets a lot of catches, I see him struggling again in week 11.
Yeah, it's
Tough to trust.
It's an audition for Dowdle for next year for the Cowboys, because I think they're going to be looking for either running back help at the draft or in free agency this for sure.
Oh, they're not gonna re-sign Zeke?
That's a good one. Fab, who do you have as your first hate?
Darnell Mooney at Denver. He's actually a wide receiver 8 on the season, Darnell Mooney.
What?
So props to him, man. He's been showing up and showing out this year.
Just like we all drew it up.
Exactly. Mooney has put up at least 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games, but those were against some pretty weak defenses. In New Orleans, Dallas, Tampa, for example. Mooney and the Falcons face the Broncos in Denver. Broncos give up the 4th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, have surrendered only 6 passing touchdowns to wide receivers all season, 2 of which came from Zay Flowers a few weeks ago, thanks to the aforementioned Lamar Jackson. And they also give up the 4th fewest points per game at just under 18 points a game at 17.7. Mooney has been lined up roughly 45 to 55 slot versus outside, but I don't really think that matters. Denver have one of the most complete secondaries in the NFL right now, and this will most likely translate into a poor showing for Mooney. He's a wide receiver 3 for me this week.
Yeah, Surtain has been amazing, and the other guy, Cooper.
The entire secondary are rated very highly on PFF. I forget their names off the top of my head, but I was doing research today. I was like, they're all, even the safeties are playing well. The other outside corner is playing pretty well too. They're tough to play against from a defensive standpoint.
What's the name of the white corner? He's been really good. I called him Cooper Riley last week. Anyways, doesn't matter. Agreed with you.
So whitewashing.
Who's your second? Huh?
What's that? Huh? Is this a whitewashing? Well,
go ahead with your second hate.
We're just gonna jump into the next one. Is that it? Is that?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good segue. I'm trying my best to have as many segues as possible.
The next one doesn't make sense.
It's Riley Moss.
He's Riley Moss.
Yeah,
Yes.
Riley Moss, Cooper Riley. Same-ish.
My second hate for the week is Brock Bowers visiting Miami. So going to the bye week, Brock has put up 5 straight outings of double-digit fantasy points, but he faces a very tough Miami defense. So they're giving up the 8th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. In fact, all season, they've surrendered only 1 passing touchdown to tight ends. And apart from Trey McBride in week 8, they've held the opposing tight ends to 60 receiving yards or less. Miami are also giving up the 2nd fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. So if it's a tough day at the office for Minshew Mania, I expect even lower than usual fantasy day for Brock too. He's low on tight end 1 for me this week. Might even finish outside the top 12.
Makes
Bold
sense.
If
one.
your quarterback is struggling, your tight end
Bold.
ain't going to get the ball, right? So
It definitely is a bold one.
That's a bold one for sure. My first hate is James Cook versus the Chiefs. James Cook, I think a 3-time appearance on Love Hate for us. This is an easy one, though, guys. The Chiefs are allowing 14 fantasy points per game to running backs, which is the fewest in the league. Only Jordan Mason and Audric Estime have gone over 50 yards rushing against Chiefs' run defense. Those same running backs are averaging 2 catches and 12 yards per game. So even from a PPR perspective, I don't expect much. Last year, Cook had 10 carries for 58 yards and 5 catches for 58 receiving yards in the Week 13 game against the Chiefs, but they have been way more stout against pass catching backs in 2024. So for me, James Cook is an obvious fade in many leagues.
I think I probably see him. That's where he's probably going to get most of his points, is catching again. Especially missing their 2 wide receivers, he might get involved more as a pass catcher. But
yeah,
if they stifle him, it's the rushing upside is definitely not there.
This could be a Ray Davis game too. Like that
easily.
physical front might be more suited for someone like Ray Davis and obviously Josh Allen for sure. My second hate is Austin Ekeler at the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Ekeler has standalone value as a flex player, even if Bijan Robinson Jr. plays due to his receiving ability. However, the Eagles are allowing 16.8 fantasy points per game to running backs this season, the 2nd fewest in the league. And in the last 4 games, that number is at 11.8, which is the top defensive mark in the league against running backs. PPR stalwarts Chase Brown, Tyrone Tracy, and Travis Etienne Jr. each had 2, 2, and 3 catches respectively for 2, 9, and 6 yards over the course of 3 of the last 4 games. This Eagles defense is back to being the dominant unit we are used to, and Ekeler is a sit regardless of Bijan Robinson Jr.'s availability. Good matchup on Thursday Night Football. I think we've been
another
lucky.
night.
This is going to be fun.
Game.
This
is going to be really,
fun,
really
for
fun.
sure.
Yeah, really fun.
See if Jaden Daniels can rebound.
Yeah.
After only scoring 8 points last week.
We have a bit of time actually, so we're going to take some listener questions from some of our followers. Trading away, so a clip point snapper on TikTok, trading away Swift, Chuba, and D Hop for Aaron Jones and Tyreek. What are your thoughts, guys?
Why would you do that?
No. And I love Aaron Jones, but
no chance. No. Chuba Hubbard has been like amazing, like beyond amazing.
Like I don't really care for Swift, to be honest with you, but Chuba and D Hop are obviously on the rise. Aaron Jones too. Tyreek is not. So for that reason, I would not make this trade.
You're just paying for names here, I think.
Well, you're paying for Tyreek, I think.
Yeah, but Tyreek has been awful.
I agree. Yeah.
So clip snapper, if you're listening, or when you're listening, or when we clip this out for you, try to see if you could remove Chuba or replace him with a lesser player. And I think that makes it more fair for you.
Yeah, I would.
Even D-Hops have been outperforming Tyreek.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I'd rather have, like, if you do Swift, D-Hop for Aaron Jones and Tyreek. But clearly Aaron Jones and Tyreek is the better side. Like, I think rest of season, Tyreek is still higher than D-Hop.
You know what scares me with that? It's just Aaron Jones, man. Like, he's just always injured. There's always something that happens. And when is it going to be that week where he's like, oh, okay, well, he's now gone for a few games?
Yeah.
It just worries me. I think Chuba has that, like, he's really got a floor there. Like, I don't know if you guys looked at his last like 4 weeks outings. It's over 20 points in all of those games.
No, I think
Yes,
we're all in agreement that we would not be trading Chuba in this scenario here. If
agreed.
it is a Swift and D Hop for Aaron Jones and Tyreek, it becomes interesting.
Yep.
But then again, I don't know. I still wouldn't do it. I still wouldn't feel comfortable with it, to be honest with you. I think
Oh,
D
wow.
Hop has a very high floor and a very high ceiling for the rest of the season. Plus, he plays on a better offense than Tyreek too. So that
Interesting.
Hubbard has double-digit points in every game except for week 1 and 8. Maybe he gets pushed out a little bit from Brooks, but they just signed him
Yeah.
to an actual pretty
Nah.
good deal, and man, he's
Dude,
been running
Chuba in
really
the
well.
fantasy playoffs when you need him the most. He's playing against Dallas, Arizona, Tampa Bay,
Yeah,
all top 10, top 8 actually, fantasy point
giving up the
defenses for
most.
running
Yeah,
backs. So
yeah, he's got a really good fantasy
no.
playoff schedule.
If you could trade for Chuba, do it. Especially he's on bye this week. You might get lucky, but
No chance.
apart from that,
Yeah. Second question we have is from Cam Thomas _24, also on TikTok. With Kyler on bye, do I start Drake May or pick up Herbert off waivers and start him?
Well, I think Fab can answer that one.
oh, you definitely pick up Herbert off waivers and you start him 100%. And I like Drake May a lot, but Herbert's been flying right now, man. You cannot discount that whatsoever at all.
How is Herbert on waivers?
These
Must
one
be a one
QB
QB
leagues,
league,
man.
I suppose.
Still,
Yeah.
he's been top 5 the last 4 weeks. We
Yeah.
just spoke
Yeah.
about it. Seeing him on waivers is shocking.
Yeah, Cam, if those guys are available to play in the league next year, we could put one together. Playing with some slouches over there. Yeah, no, definitely pick up Herbert, like non-starter for me.
Who's New England playing?
New England is playing. Give me a second.
Just go to Rogers' team.
They're playing the
here.
Rams.
Yeah, I think the Rams have to bounce back.
Yeah, they're
I
playing.
still like Herbert's matchup.
That's
there.
Herbert. It's easy Herbert.
I think it's a very easy call there.
Yeah.
In my opinion as well.
Well, there you have it, folks. That is all we have for you today on another edition of Love Hate for week 11. Thank you so much again for listening to us. Please, please, please do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe to all our social media platforms. Download and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. And thanks for spending your evening, day, your walk, whatever it is with us. On behalf of Fab and Nac, I'm Raj, and we will see you next time.
Let's go.
Wonderful outro, Roger. Wonderful. Excellent. Well done.
Another 2 episodes done.
Another 2 episodes done. 42 in the books. Is that it?
42 in the books.
Yeah.
Feels like 420.
I need a 420 right now.
I need a 420 right now.
Wow.
It's a great idea. On that note,
Goodbye.
good night, everyone.
Goodbye.